Hey guys, BlackPanthaa here, and I am here with CraptasticJack, and today we're going to be talking about why we like and dislike Most Wanted 2012. And because we kind of have different views on it, I'm more against the game's existence, and he's more for... I don't know, what's your thoughts on it? What basically makes you like the game? Let's put that thing
Well,
first.
with Most Wanted 2012, the thing is, as a Need for Speed game, it really isn't. Like, I kind of view it as a Burnout game more than a Need for Speed game. It's only a Need for Speed game for me, basically, in title only, but that doesn't, for me, just because it's not a Need for Speed game like that, doesn't mean that it's, for me, a bad game. It's pretty good.
Yeah, so what do you kind of like? What salvages it for you? Is it like just because what part like do you find most fun from it?
Basically the gameplay mostly because the sense of speed in that game I just feels better than in the older Need for Speed games. It just like feels more fast and more fluent for me basically. Although there is a lack of customization, and I do not like how if you want a certain paint color on your car, you have to drive through a gas station 3 or 4 times just to get that certain color for that car.
Yeah,
But the thing with Most Wanted 2012 is I just find it fun. It's fluent, it's fast, and the only thing I also dislike about it, basically, with the fluentness, is how there are crash cams. That I feel has that got to go. But with the drifting in the game, I'm actually kind of okay with drifting. I actually don't care if it stays or goes. I'm not a big fan of it, and yet I actually do enjoy it. So with the drifting there, that's fine. With Most Wanted, the fluentness and the car selection, I find the car selection actually pretty good. And with how fluent it is, basically, I keep saying fluent, but with how fluent it is, just that feeling of going fast down the road with a bunch of cops on your ass, it's just fun. Especially if you're in the lower heat stages when all of a sudden there's a big ass SWAT van after your ass. When you and sometimes it's just like a giant mess with a bunch of cops going everywhere. It's really fun actually when they're like higher cop chases actually as well. And I find the cop chases more fun at the later stages than in Most Wanted 2012. And I also like how in Most Wanted 2012 they brought back basically how the pursuit system was back from 2005. You have the Civic Cruisers, you have the basically Pontiacs, the state troopers who are Dodge Chargers, and then you have the Corvettes in the cop cars. You don't have like rivals cops where they're like in giant McLarens at like heat level 3 or something like that. You don't have that. You have like Corvette cops at the highest level. You have Dodge Chargers at the medium. You have Crown Vics at the lower, and it's easier to evade the cops at the lower levels, but it's actually pretty difficult for me at least to lose the cops at the higher levels, and that's what like for the cops, it's almost perfect in Most Wanted 2012 for me.
okay. So is it mainly the cops like and obviously the handling and such that kind of makes you like the game still?
Yeah, the handling's actually pretty good for that game. It's better than Rivals. And Rivals was actually a mix of the run and hot pursuits for me, but with Most Wanted's, it's almost perfect for me, basically. The only thing I don't like about it is how it's actually pretty hard to use with a racing wheel,
Yeah,
which I probably haven't touched since the crew beta,
yeah.
sadly.
Um, I had some fun on it. Like it's not the worst game in the world, like I make it out to be a lot of the time. But
Yeah.
I think the main reason I kind of have a hate for it is because number one, it's called Need for Speed, and it's not a Need for
Yeah.
Speed, as you said. But not only that, they took it a step further by calling it Need for Speed Most Wanted, which really kind of annoyed me because it's like if you
Yeah.
look at I don't know Hot Pursuit, I would say that was pretty close to what a Hot Pursuit was. So you
Yeah.
know when they bring out a new Most Wanted, you're expecting it to be at least slightly similar or as close to being as similar as Hot Pursuit was to the old one, and we got more of a Burnout Paradise game with licensed cars. That was the main thing that got me because I've been waiting for such a long time for another Most Wanted, for another Underground, another Carbon, something like that. And we basically get open world, Burnout Paradise with licensed cars. But as I said, I did have some fun in it. I think most of my fun was when I went online, which sounds a bit weird, but It's not in public sessions, so that would be why. So it's basically when I got on with my friends, and we basically kept doing, what was it? That race around the park. I did that so many times in the SLS, and as you said, like the sense of speed, that was pretty good on the game.
Yeah.
The drifting, because it's a Need for Speed game, I don't like it. Like if it's Burnout, I could understand it, but as you said. I mean, it's because it's a Need for Speed. I want to be able to make more mistakes, like, and if I make a mistake, I don't want to see a crash cutscene.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you could skip it, like in the crew, maybe, I would be more understanding of it. But it's just. I don't know. It didn't work on the game, I don't think, and it shouldn't have been there. I mean, even Drive Club dodges you out of the way of things when you hit them, and the crew dodges you out of the way when you hit traffic sometimes, unless you hit a bus. It's they're more, because I don't get it. Because Need for Speed is trying to be more, you don't have to be a really good driver. You don't have to concentrate much. You just tap the brake and you're drifting around the corner, keeping your speed. But then they have the bit where you crash and you're the worst driver in the world, stay at the back of the race the whole race. Yeah. And then they balance that again with, here, have lots and lots of nitrous to catch up to the people in front of you. And it's...
Yeah.
It's a lot of conflicting things. But I will admit that it is probably the most fun I had from... Like, when it was right, I had more fun than I would have, say, on Rivals... or even the Run, because it was still that open world game where I was playing with my friends, which I've been looking for, and no game has done very well. but hopefully this year we'll have quite a few games to do.
Yeah.
But I think if it was labelled a Burnout game and it had unofficial cars, I would be more understanding with it. I would accept it a little bit more. But as you said, for them to kind of call it Need for Speed, it's not great.
In Criterion's defense, it was probably not their idea to call it Need for Speed. It was probably EA's idea to call it Need for Speed because we all know how EA is. But to quote this one guy from Classic Game Room, he was reviewing this old Need for Speed game, and he said, I've never seen another series lose its identity as much as Need for Speed. Soon you'll be able to have Dead Space in it and call it Need for Speed."
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah, the thing about that is basically it was probably Burnout first, and EA came into the room with their whips and said, "You're gonna make this Need for Speed," and then they started whipping people, turning it into Need for Speed.
It sounds about right, but I mean, as well, that was probably Need for Speed Millionaire. Like they changed to the Burnout. From the Burnout. So they probably were making Burnout, then tried to make it into Need for Speed Millionaire, scrapped it, and tried another project or something and failed it, and then they went back to Need for Speed Millionaire. Or Need for Speed Most Wanted, or Burnout. But yeah, I mean, I think if they did a few things to adjust the game, it would be an alright game. Because, I mean, you can't take away the drifting without changing the map or something, so that would have had to stay.
Yeah.
Which, as much as I hate, I wouldn't have... as long as they added in some other things to kind of counter that or balance that, I would have been okay with it. Say, they added in a bigger map, because the map was pretty small. You could learn it very, very quickly. And, there was more variety in the map, because there was a couple of off-road sections. It was mainly just city, 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 which I wasn't a massive fan of. Because, if you look at Horizon 2, The Crew, for example, there's a lot of variety in the games where you can go and stuff. So if they did that, allowed us to go out of the area rather than limiting us to the roads and such, I think it would have been a bit better. But,
yeah.
I mean... I don't know, it would have been an okay game to still call it Need for Speed Most Wanted, as long as they, made the cops a little bit harder, they allowed for, upgrades on cars that were significant, the races were more challenging in some ways, and I don't know, just little things might have been able to make it more of a game that I would enjoy more, but as I said, it's still not the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
'Cause,
The thing about the drifting, in your opinion, basically, I agree with you. You should have like to have some skill in order to drift,
yeah.
and I like that. Basically, only thing is I'm not a big drift fan. I don't watch those like other YouTubers that like drift stuff like that. So I honestly don't care about the drifting in the game and how easy it is. But if you there's a good Need for Speed game, I was thinking the other day, where it would be available if you wanted assisted drifting turned on or off. Like the roads could still be made for drifting purposes, but you could turn assisted drifting on or off, and basically you could actually try your best to like actually pull off a drift that you pulled off by yourself without the game's help. That would actually be pretty cool.
Um, I'm not sure. I mean, it really depends on how the roads are set up, and that's the main
Yeah.
issue. Like as I said, with most of one in 2012, if you then if we said to them, right, so say we're EA and they come to us and we don't like the drifting. We're EA, just pretend we don't, right? And they come to us and say, here, look, we've got drifting. We can't really say take the drifting out because the roads have been like designed to do that.
Oh yeah.
Because if you imagine like the drifting that you do, imagine on like Rivals, for example, the roads on Rivals. Imagine how much turning and weird angles you have to do for the turning.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So once they've got the design there, it's kind of hard for them to take that back and
Yeah.
change it. So what they have to do is, hopefully what they're doing with the next one is make it from the ground up completely, not just rip off other maps they've made and take parts from this map and take ideas from this. I don't know. But as I said, on topic of Most Wanted 2012,
Yeah.
I think I got like 200 hours in the game. As much as I disliked the game, I got 200 hours in that game. Like,
Yeah.
it was like the first time I went through all of it. I did all the races, but after that point, there was nothing. And I think that's the main issue where customization is needed, tuning is needed, something to do afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I mean, with Forza, if Forza was just races, no tuning, no customization, that would be the most boring game ever.
AKA Gran Turismo 6.
Is it Gran Turismo 6 has still got the tuning, so I'll let off slightly, but I mean, at least the tuning to be able to, make the car accelerate faster or have a better top speed. Even if it's really basic stuff like grids. Grids wasn't very helpful it didn't feel that helpful compared to, say, Forza or something, but you could still feel a difference, and I think that's what I prefer, because even still, if we didn't have visual customization, we've still got the fact that guy could have tuned his car to be better at acceleration, and I could have tuned mine to be better at top speed. Let's see who made the better, decision. It just adds a bit more, your car is yours kind of thing, which I like.
Yeah. Going on to basically your car is yours. I fell in love with my Dodge Challenger that I made in the crew. But going back to the Most Wanted multiplayer, actually, the thing is, I like the game. You don't like the game, but you kind of like the multiplayer, and I won't touch the multiplayer with a 10-foot pole. Because every time I go into the multiplayer, there's always some asswipe in a giant Veyron coming and just ramming you off the road. And another thing, there was this event type in the game called Team Race. And if your team came in first, the enemy team still had a chance to wreck you at the end of the race and come in first for getting points that wrecked you at the end of the race, which doesn't make any sense. How does that make sense?
It was a really, really badly designed multiplayer. Like, one thing I liked, though, is that the whole session idea lasted about 20 minutes, which, as a racer, I like long events. Like, I hate where games give you a 1-minute race and you're like, well, okay, now I've got to wait through 20 minutes of menus to be able to get to a 1-minute race again, But, I kind of liked the whole, you drive to the meetup, you activate the race and you do the race and, it's points-based and you get an overall score at the end. But, once again, the speed points were absolutely useless after a certain point on multiplayer. And if I was able to put stickers on the side of my car for saying I completed this challenge first place or something at least, then yeah, sure, I'd love that. Or, not just license plates that took about a year to load up, which gets reset every time you launch the game.
Wow.
Like, I'd put this really cool license plate on that I'd get for doing 200 miles in my M3, and when I come back on, I've got to go through the menu, which takes about 10 minutes to put it back on again because it's glitched and stuff. But, I mean, the basic structure is cool, but when you put in events such as who can stay on top of a crate for the longest time,
Yeah.
and everybody just pushes each other off, that's not fun. But
yeah.
you carry on.
I don't get that. Yeah, but moving back to the actual single player of the game, the map, like there's the giant highway that goes in a loop. I actually kind of like that. So that means I can have like a giant police chase going around the thing without like stopping, basically, without having to move to a side street, like in Hot Pursuit, where like the highway would like end and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. I liked that, and I also liked how there was some countryside, only not much.
Yeah.
It kind of was diverse, but not really. But
yeah, I mean, there needs to be like, I don't know. You'd think the map would be bigger for racing games when GTA 5, for example, has so much detail. You can explore every little nook and cranny. You can go up mountains, whatever, which you can't do in racing games. You'd expect the racing games to be able to do that at least. Do you know what I mean? Like, even with a much smaller budget, because you're not going around to explore these areas, you don't have people walking around saying, having different voices randomly generated. You'd think even with a really small budget, you should be able to pull off a same size world as, say, GTA 4. But it's kind of annoying that they didn't do that, because they could have done a lot of diversity, as you said. Like, if you look at the crew, you can think of like any type of terrain, and you can find it on that game. And that's one thing that I really like, because I can go to the salt flats, I can go to the mountains, the snowy mountains, or some, the Grand Canyon. I can go to city streets, I can go to highways that go around the cities. There's just everything. But in that game, everything was really small. Like, you could get around the map in, I don't know how many minutes. Like, it wasn't long at all. And, I don't know, it just overall felt like a very easy game, a very laid-back game to make as well. Not a lot of thought went into the design of it, I don't think.
Yeah, basically what Most Wanted 2012 is basically baby's first Need for Speed, basically.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends who aren't necessarily Need for Speed fans played it, and they actually enjoyed it because it was easy to pick up and play. So for them, it was pretty fun because they have no prior knowledge of what Need for Speed was in the past, except one who played Most Wanted 2005 when he was like 6 years old. But they have no prior knowledge to what Need for Speed was in the past, and they enjoyed it because it was fun, fluent, and easy to play, actually. So I guess coming from that, basically, is Need for Speed Most Wanted basically like Hot Pursuit. Basically, I keep saying basically a lot, basically, but with Hot Pursuit 2010, more people liked it if you actually played the first Hot Pursuit game, like I did.
Yeah.
But same, I guess, goes from Need for Speed Most Wanted, where you have to you can't really be a giant fan of the Need for Speed games in the past to actually enjoy it, because, well, it's like nothing like the original Need for Speed games. And if new people are coming to the game, they'll enjoy it more than like the older games, which are a little harder to pick up and play. So
the problem is
from that,
they're trying to design the game for too much for the wrong people.
Filthy casuals.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they're aiming it towards the people that don't normally pick up racing games. Yeah, they look at the cars and they go, I want to drive the best cars quickly, which is why you could find all the cars around the map at the beginning of the game. Which is why the races were quite easy, which is why you get more NOS if you fall behind, which is why the cops were easy to escape. They're aiming it for the wrong type of people. Whereas, say, if we look at, I forgot the name of it, Rivals. If you look at Rivals was kind of a step more towards being separated from the casual market, because if you messed up or if you tried to stay out for too long, you would be penalised. But there was still some of the baby aspects there, such as drifting around very easily and, being very basic to, you do this race, you completed a speed list, here's a cutscene of some guy that you don't know who is that. Who is that? Is it me? I don't know. Well, it was more, they tried basically too much to cater to both and kind of end up leaning more towards the side of the people that don't pick up racing games. And we've seen with Grid 2. We've seen with what else we got? Obviously, Most Wanted 2012. We've seen with Blur that games that try and cater more towards the casual don't end up doing very well. And they have to try and correct the mistake or close up shop completely. And whereas if you look at Forza, Forza's probably the best-selling racing franchise at the moment, and that game is not aimed towards little kids. Like,
exactly.
And it's doing really well. So that they need to kind of understand where the market is, I think. That's the main problem.
Yeah. A prime example, I'm guessing, would be Underground, because Underground wasn't aimed at mainstream audience, and that game has sold more copies than PlayStation 4s have been sold.
And that's what I mean, like, even if you ask people that don't like racing games today, they play Call of Duty every year and FIFA, and that's about it. They will know what Underground is. Like, some of them will know, because they played that game, and that wasn't aimed towards the kids that had nothing to do, like, they didn't know what cars were. It was aimed towards people like you and me that are really into cars, that would like to customize cars, that like to, you know, do the whole thing. But it's kind of like, I was saying, how that's how it works. Like, the people that really, really like the game, such as the crew for us at the moment, we buy that game, we spread information about that game, we tell our friends about this game, and they pick up that game, and then they tell their friends, which are more, you know, not into racing, and it kind of goes on down. That's how Underground sold well, because the people that loved it really loved it, and it wasn't too easy, and it wasn't this, and it wasn't as broken as Rivals. You know, this is that. I think the main factor is they're aiming for the wrong audience with both of those games, like Most Wanted and Rivals.
Exactly. That's like 100% truth, and I actually hit something on my keyboard. But the thing with Most Wanted is basically that they're aiming too much towards casuals, but a lot of casual people are coming picking up the game. But with Rivals, it only sold 2 million copies, and with Rivals I'm not sure if that's being aimed toward casuals or hardcore fans. It might be being aimed at neither, because the game has...
It was kind of a weird mix. More so penalizing with the speed points thing than before, but then again, at the same time, it was also very easy to be able to buy a car with a small amount of speed points.
Yeah.
So it's kind of trying its best to do both, and they need to just stop and... You know, they need to have little bits in there to assist, obviously. You know, Underground was never a Forza, for example.
Oh.
But, I mean, it's still... They need to have some of... You know, more of... No hand-holding. If you fall back in a race, you should fall back in a race and not be given extra NOS to get ahead. I think it was actually the Run that introduced that, was it?
The nitrous system?
Yeah, the nitrous that... gave you more as you felt. Hot Pursuit, okay. Even the Run had it, and that kind of annoyed me, because you had in the Run it was so overpowered as well. You could join mid-race, right, and you could NOS because you were so far behind, and end up first place, because the NOS continues to be very good after you get past first place. There's an extra little handhold saying, "Here you go, go on." But it's kind of just annoying, because I just want a game that's decent, at least, from them, because if you look at the crew, you look at obviously Horizon 2, you look at even Project Cars, all these games know their audience, and they're pushing from that audience. They're not trying to handhold here and there to make it a little bit easier to do this, a little bit easier to do that. They're just doing their thing and not worrying, rather than trying to get a 3 rating on their case.
Yeah, but although as much as I like Most Wanted 2012, it is not award-winning work. All those awards on the cover are fake for me.
I can't believe that. Like,
that was
the tags on YouTube that you
I
got.
know.
It was award-winning work. It's like, no.
Yeah, but another thing I like about Most Wanted 2012, basically, I keep saying basically, what the hell's wrong with me? But the thing is that it's just addicting for me, basically.
Yeah.
There I go again. But basically, oh my god, no, seriously. Okay, Most Wanted 2012, I got that a few days after it came out, actually. And I played that game almost every day from November 1st, that's the day I got it, to
Mm.
May. Somehow it was so addicting to me.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
it's
played quite a bit.
yeah.
Um, it had that addictive feel, but I think that's mainly because it felt like an arcade-ish game. It's even Rivals. Rivals more so. You select a car, you drift about, you get points, you're in, you're done. But to kind of keep that thing going, they need to keep giving us more rewards, and that's the thing that those two games lack. You know, we
Yeah.
get a livery for doing whatever. Oh, we can upgrade the car on Rivals. Rivals upgrades felt useless except the handling one, and they just need to be more. They, the thing they want everybody to be balanced, everything to be fair, every car to be exactly the same, and that's
You-
another thing of trying to be casual.
You're
Um,
all winners.
yeah, everybody's a winner. Don't worry. If you come last, don't worry. Your teammates came first, so you're a winner as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. They need to step away from that and be more down to earth. And if this guy has put 100 hours into his car is going to be much better than yours. Much
Yeah.
better. And you need to earn your way up to being able to beat him. Like, match them with people with the same type of car level as them. And, if you're going to give them a boost with that NOS thing that you use all the time, at least. But still allow me to be, raw power-wise, better than that person. I don't know. There's got to be a way to do it.
Yeah. But maybe the reason why it was so addicting is because that like Friends Most Wanted leaderboard or something like that. I mean, back then I was an
That
avid
was,
member of
yeah.
this one website called World Garage. It's basically this Need for Speed World community, something like that. I don't go on anymore, but they had this little thread for the blacklist of the thread, and I was like blacklist number something, I don't remember. But I had like so many friends from that website on the blacklist. I'm gonna call it the blacklist. I don't care what it's called. Most of my 2012. I had so many friends on there, and maybe that's why I kept playing it every day because there was a lot of friends. I was even friends with this one guy named Sergeant CT920 on there, and he's this racing YouTuber, and he was all his times were like so hard to get. And I would like spend maybe like 3 hours on just this one race trying to beat his time. So maybe that's why it was really addicting for me because I wanted to be top of the leaderboards. And then I found out that this one person on who's the top of the leaderboards was glitching for that top leaderboard, so I just gave up. But still, for some reason, that game just keeps bringing me back. It kept bringing me
Yeah.
back, and it still kind of does periodically today because of the leaderboards. And Autolog for me was the first time in Most Wanted was when Autolog actually kind of worked for me. It didn't really work because I didn't have friends that played Hot Pursuit or played The Run. I had friends that played Autolog with Most Wanted 2012, but then Autolog kind of just like died with Rivals, I
Yeah.
guess, because I don't hear much about it. But in Most Wanted, the Autolog features in that game are like near perfect for me because it's like on the back of the case it says the most socially something racing game ever. That is true because well, to maybe the crew's gonna outshine that award, but oh my god, with Most Wanted 2012 was the leaderboards on there were constantly changing and you could easily check it and you would always see who your friend beat your time. You always get pissed off, and I would go on to the game and just like start trying to beat his score again.
Yeah.
And with all the speed cameras around the map, all the billboards around the map, it was funny because one of my friends' profile pictures was of Gabe Newell and basically like the PC Master Race. So and whenever he would break the billboard, you would always see "Wanted Gabe Newell," and you see Gabe Newell's face on there.
Yeah.
But and another thing is the billboards. I would almost never get the high score for the billboards, and I had this really funny profile picture of a troll face, Hugh Hugh Hugh, because back then I thought troll faces were funny, and I always would try and go get the highest jump, but I can never ever do. And I did once actually. I got the high score once, only to be like outshined like an hour later by one of my friends on there.
Mm.
But the autolog system and how it's like constantly pushing you to get better and better at this one event or something like that is probably the main reason why I still play it a lot.
Yeah, I remember on the run, the demo for that, they were like, autolog may cause rivalries between friends. It was like a warning screen. And
Oh,
I
that
was
was
like,
Hot Pursuit.
was it Hot Pursuit? Okay, it was Hot Pursuit.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? What? As if. And I actually, my friend, like, I played the demo, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And then I stopped playing it. And then I told my friend about it, and he played it, and he said he beat me, and I was like, you what? So I went on the demo again to try and beat him. And I was like, this makes sense now, because I just stopped speaking to him for, like, the whole rest of the day to try and beat his time, and it worked pretty well. I mean, when it works pretty well, but as I said, like, Rivals, it didn't do it very well, because the problem was the events didn't feel like events. You sat there and pressed the button, and people flew from around the corner. Sometimes, and the police would smack into the back of you or smack into the front of you and send you forwards. And, you know, it didn't feel right. But, I mean, if it was all menu-based, it'd probably work a lot better.
Yeah,
or even through,
I
like
menu-based.
Easy Drive. Easy Drive would have been fine. But, yeah, I think we should begin to end
I like
this off.
lobby-based, like, a lot better, basically.
Yeah, it just makes everything a lot easier. But, yeah, so, Most Wanted 2012, not the worst game in the world, but, I don't know, I wouldn't even say the worst Need for Speed, because I haven't played them all, so I can't really say that.
What is the worst Need for Speed for you, then? Is it Hot Pursuit? No, not Hot Pursuit.
No, I think the worst one I've played, like, of all of them, I would say I don't know, I would have to say Most Wanted 2012.
Yeah.
Like, there's never really been an overall bad Need for Speed. Obviously, there's been bad aspects to Underground and even Most Wanted and Carbon, but I think there's never been as many bad aspects to me as there is in Most Wanted. But then again, Rivals is up there really, like, close to it, because Rivals was fun, but it was a big mess.
Rivals is one of my worst Need for Speed games, but it's not my worst. The worst for me would either have to be people are gonna hate me for this, but Porsche Unleashed or what's that game called? Undercover. I almost said Underground. No, basically
then
Porsche Unleashed.
Then you would have been toast if you said Underground. People would have been
How many people
angry.
are burning crosses in my front yard now?
Yeah. But I mean, they're all, like, not terrible games. There's been worse games, and the main reason we're doing this is because we want the next Need for Speed to be perfect. We want it to be as perfect as possible. I know it's not going to be the biggest game ever. It's not going to be the most, like, the biggest car list ever, the biggest map ever, or anything.
Yeah.
But we need to try and point out the areas that are wrong. So if you guys could let us know in the comments below, you know, what game you hated the most in Need for Speed and why, maybe. You know, what made you hate Most Wanted 2012? What made you hate Rivals? Then that would be great. And anything else for you to say?
Oh yeah, I forgot. There's this one glitch in Most Wanted though, where sometimes there's like this little area where you could drive and it would just lead you to the bottom of the ocean. Like there's this little garage in the game where if you drive to it, you go into the bottom of the ocean. But in the Wii U version, that garage would take you to a secret area where it has like Mario pipes and all this.
Really?
Cool. Yeah, in the Wii U version, there's like Mario pipes scattered around the map, and they'll take you to like a secret location.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but that's only in the Wii U version. I wish in the PlayStation 3 version or in the PC version there would be like Gabe Newell like stuff around, but it's on Origin, so that will never happen.
Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much our thoughts on it. It's not a game. It's an it.
It's a game.
Mixed bag, a pick and mix. And as I said, you can check out Jack's channel by looking in the description below. I'll link to his channel there.
I have free porn on it, so yeah.
And we shall see you in the next video, guys. Peace.
Bye.